This is the Real Estate Investing Abundance Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Allen. I know you're excited to get into today's show, but I have a very exciting announcement to share with you before moving to the show. We've just launched a complimentary and comprehensive webinar that, among other things, shows you how to legally use passive real estate investing to reduce your taxes, recession-proof your nest egg, and take the sting out of inflation. If you are curious to learn more, go to stevetalker.com/webinar. It is complimentary and only takes a couple of minutes of your time. Once again, that is stevetalker.com/webinar. I'll see you in the webinar. Enjoy today's show. Hello, enlightened investors. Welcome back to Real Estate Investing Abundance. I'm your host, Dr. Allen, and as always, I am delighted to be with you, and thank you so much for joining us. It is always a pleasure being with you. And with us today, we have Tia Lilly, and she is going to take us on a fascinating journey. And we're going to talk about things of investing in a residential property in a vacation market for personal enjoyment and for vacation rental income. We're going to talk about some other things as well, as Tia is an experienced and successful real estate agent who has her own brokerage. So, Tia, take us into the show and share a memorable experience from your formative years that helped you to be who you are today.
Well, it's a great question, Dr. Allen, and thanks for having me on your show. I think it's such a tough one to unpack because there's so many instances that brought me where I am today, or I should say mistakes. We always have crossroads, right? That
exactly,
we take, and if we don't know, we only go forward, we can't go back. So when we look at the paths we take that have been, like for me personally, been a lot of challenges. So I feel like I'm just coming into my own now. Like I'm still still working on that. But I'm grateful for all those tough crossroads because that is what brought me here today. If I didn't go through those experiences, I wouldn't be sitting here right now with you. And I'm so happy to be here.
Well, and we're glad that you are here with us and sitting with us here today. I suspect that most successful people have had a lot of crossroads, and we could look back on our lives and we could look at all of the mistakes we made and we could dwell on that. But most successful people I know have found their way through those difficult situations. And oftentimes, and I mean certainly in my life, some of the most horrific things, or things that I thought they were horrific at the time, I can look back on those with actually gratitude at this point in time.
Right.
That gratitude doesn't come for many years usually, but eventually there's gratitude because those bad experiences did something miraculous for us oftentimes.
Right.
So can you give us, if it's not too personal, an example from one of those times that were difficult?
Sure. Yeah. To be a little more specific, I guess we could, if I answer with the deepest one, I don't know for anyone out there, very career oriented and ambitious, but would always get in my own way and would always stop at a certain point. You just think success, I don't deserve that. It shouldn't come my way. This was a thinking that had to be changed. So I did some intense therapy with the EMDR therapy that brought me, I came out of it 13 months of doing that, and it took about a decade to get it processed and synced in. And then I've only started my own brokerage 7 years ago, so it's still very young, and 4 years ago branded. But that was probably the hardest thing I ever did because I relived everything. Clear any trauma is cleared. So you need to really, in my opinion, deal with that to go forward in life. And I'm grateful for the opportunity and that I was put there to do that. I would not have been able to open my own brokerage. I'm aware of that had I not done that. So that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And it kind of goes through everything that you, all those crossroads, I guess. That's what you're in there for. So it's all good though. So grateful. Yeah. So that's, without getting too deep into it and why, I'm happy to do that. I don't know if you or your audience would want to hear that, but it just changed my life tremendously. Just a 180. Yeah. So
yeah,
I think we all deal with trauma out there. So I guess that's why I say that. Like, really think about that. If you feel like you're held back, I guess was for me.
well, we all deal with trauma, and
We do.
it does us absolutely no good, though, to compare
No.
our trauma to somebody else's, because we all have our own journeys, and
Right.
we all have to deal with our own trauma in our own way.
True.
But I appreciate you bringing up this EMDR. To many of us, and even for me as a counselor and therapist, I thought, what a hokey idea. That, but it has proven itself through many different tests and trials. It has proved to be a very, very valid treatment, particularly as a post-traumatic stress treatment.
Right.
It is interesting that, as far as I know, research is ongoing on this, but as far as I know, we still have not been able to really ascertain why it is that it works, but we have been able to validate that it is a valid treatment, and that it is a reliable treatment. And I really applaud you for going through several years of that. It in and of itself, as a treatment modality, it is not particularly pleasant. And then certainly the reliving of the traumas that it brings to the surface are very, very difficult to deal with and to go through. So I definitely applaud you, Tia, in going through those things and coming to the point and place where you are today. And I also appreciate you saying that without that intervention, you would not be where you are today. And I appreciate you saying that, because many people who find themselves in situations where they are not progressing in life hesitate to reach out for help. And we need to do that. We need to reach out when we need help.
Right. Right.
And I've been there, done that myself. I haven't done EMDR, but I have certainly had intensive therapy that changed the course of my life as well. And without it, I wouldn't be sitting here today either.
Right.
Can you think back on it's difficult. This isn't necessarily the way I thought this conversation would go, but if you don't mind, I would like to follow this train here. It's one thing to know that that we're not progressing in life the way that we want to, and it's one thing to actually come to a realization that we need help. It's another thing to make the decision to reach out for that help. What was it in your life that brought you to that point of, I need help and I'm going to reach out for this help?
It was actually my mom that just kind of, I think deep down I knew I needed help, but I didn't think I needed help, if that makes sense,
No, that
and
makes
it's just like,
sense,
you think
yes.
you don't need any help. You're fine. Everything's fine the way it is. But I had recently done something to somebody I cared about very much. And I just said, wait, this is not right. I need to really start evaluating. And then it was just the perfect timing. She took me to this therapist, and she just said, just hear her out, just see. And then at next thing I know, there I was every week. So I'm super grateful to my mom for that as well, because I didn't necessarily go seek it. She kind of I kept saying I need to do something. And then she
Mhm.
just took me there. So I've had a lot of good, like a lot of really blessings that have aligned and brought me to this place today. So I really try to focus on the gratitude, and we all have choices, and we all have our own journey, and we all have our own way to get there. And it really doesn't matter how you do it. We're all different, but just, and that's where my heart is right now. That's a lot with my company, is to try to make a difference for other people, and that's what I work on every day. It's not just as simple as real estate, and that's I know that's what we came here to talk about, but it goes so much deeper. So
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Well, let us take a journey into your entrepreneurial experiences. And you began your journey to brokerage, of course, like you have to through the licensing process, and you have to work under I don't know what you call them in Massachusetts. We call them broker in charge here, and
yep.
you have to work under that supervision for a period of time and follow up with courses and that follow up on that and until you can become an independent agent. And then most real estate agents continue their work with a firm of either a national firm or a local firm or whatever. But you eventually made the choice to move from being an agent to being an independent agent and then being establishing a brokerage of your own. So, if you could just take us through that journey and talk to us about the good parts and the challenges.
Well, the challenges all lead to the good parts, kind of like same story of what we were talking about. But I started with and I give them so much credit, again, so much gratitude there, because they recruited me, tried to recruit me for a couple years, and eventually it was successful. So I wouldn't be here today in the field that I love and the career I love if it wasn't for the company I started with. But as we got going, and I became I kind of, it was an entry level company that I started a niche in the second home market. So there was definitely some conflict in mindset of thinking there, because there was just two different brands, two different ways. But if I really looked, really what prompted me to say, look, I got to go out on my own and start my own brokerage was a lot. And I find not just with them, but a lot of the companies are very much sales driven. Don't get me wrong. That's how we make a living. I always just say we're in the people business, but as a result, we sell houses. So, and that's where I started to fall in love with the industry and the business was when I started with the second home market, meeting my clientele is amazing, and just meet the most interesting, successful people, and it just stimulated my brain intellectually, and that's really how I learned to become. And I'm always striving to be better and better. But they taught me, like, just from looking at like we go into houses and they would say, I don't understand. Why don't they make their beds? Why don't they have a cleaner? Why don't they?
Mhm.
These are a lot of details that are even overlooked by my colleagues out there, which I just encourage us all to just kind of, that's a whole nother subject, but just to present, let's just raise our industry, I guess, let's just see what we can do and have pride. But anyway, I don't want to trail off, but that's when I started to fall in love with it. And it was just always, I find it's more focused on how many sales. It's not about the people. I was trained to be super professional. Do not socialize with the client. Do not do any, and it's exact opposite. It took me a while to come into my own, but I'm out to lunch, dinner every single week, once or twice with somebody. That's who we serve. Both ways.
Mhm.
That's the fun in it, the people.
Mhm.
So, in helping them, and it changes lives too. It really does. I keep in touch with a lot of them, and they just have, it's sometimes when you're on the purchase side and you're thinking about purchasing, it's not just investment to make money, it's a quality of life. And that's what I see that actually changes and impacts families. And they just always, it was the best thing they ever did. I hear that over and over again.
Well, that is fascinating to me to hear a real estate agent to say that it's not sales. It is actually relationships. I
Right.
don't hear many agents saying that.
Right.
Uh, and you talked about this conflict, and I mean, I can really hear the angst as you talk about this, that the agency or the brokerage that you were working with was discouraging the relationship. And you had to find your way from this brokerage that was nurturing you and helping you to develop your career. But there was this interpersonal conflict that was probably always there from the beginning. But as you stayed with the brokerage, it began to grow. How did you reconcile that?
Well, as far as like to this day, I have the most respect for them as people, and that will never change. And we just it's different mindsets. So it's not to say that I'm right and someone else is wrong. We just see, and I think that's with a lot of the brokerages. I think my
Mhm.
brokerage, that's where we're different. Is it's not that we just see things differently. We just
Mhm.
look at it differently. It's not driven by how many agents we have or how many sales we have. It's driven by the stories of the success of the people that we serve. And it
Mhm.
can be served not just through clients, but our contractors, our vendors. We become close with everyone. My one of my focuses is all my team, like seeing their
Mhm.
success. And success isn't always financial. It does take a big factor in finance. Don't get me wrong, and that's do how we make our money. But relationships in a day and age where it's just so technology driven, and we are technology forward for a very small company, we are, but we're also relationship oriented. And that's so I think we're and not just the brokerage that I came up in, but a lot of them. And that's why I
Mhm.
decided to go on my own because I just saw things differently. And wanted to put the people first and the numbers will come. And they do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And we work a lot off referrals in our sphere. We don't do as much advertising, a lot of word of mouth. We'll start to do that as we grow and scale up. And I'm looking for other like-minded agents right now as well. But the focus, I just really want the focus to be on people, not
Mhm.
on like we need to put them first and then the
Yeah.
rest will come. So yeah. So it's kind of comes full circle. I've got my bachelor's in human service,
Mhm.
and now I never looked at real estate as quite human service, but it
Yeah.
is that is where my heart is to make a difference in people's lives, a positive
Can you
difference.
can you
Yeah.
can you
Yeah.
share a story of a success story
Mm.
with keeping your client's confidentiality anonymous here? Can you share a story with us?
Sure. And a success. I mean, I have so many success stories because I try to think of one that, but they're also also different yet I don't know. I just they so have so much full of love in my heart for all my clients. So it's hard to pick one. But I'll try to think of something like more recent that I can share that maybe I haven't shared before because there's just is there anything specific I guess you're looking for like in a success because it comes in so many factors I guess or you just want me to come up I'm not
Well,
sure.
I would like you to really
Yeah.
look at this from the relationship perspective and how the relationship formed and how that relationship translated into helping the client to find the property that they wanted. And then I like to know their story after acquiring the property and how it is that
Okay.
that affected their life and changed
How
their
it
life.
affected. All right, I'll start with one of my first. Actually, there was a point in time that I didn't think this business was going to be for me, and I was like on the verge of saying, I don't know, this isn't it. But
Mhm.
anyways, I had these. They were basically maybe don't want to say a confidence booster, but I really liked them. This couple I met, they had been through 9 or 10 agents at this point. They were looking for a house, a second home. Where we started and where we ended were two completely different ways. I do hear a lot of agents sometimes say buyers are liars. And I really don't like that phrase at all, because they just change their minds. It's a process. Everything is a process. And what we start out looking for isn't always where we end up, but you have to start somewhere. So it changes as they go, and they're always apologizing. I'm sorry. It's like, no, it's a process. That's why I always encourage, reach out, ask questions, because it will help you to get to the decision that's right for you. Anyway, so they had been through a number of agents. I met them, just hit it off with them. To this day, they are in this was way back. This was like 2009. I just share them because they pop into my mind. They recently sent me a lovely family to help find a house just last week. So they're always have me top of mind. But they spend so much quality time with their family. They have grandchildren now. This house has just been the best thing that's ever. It just has brought them together, and they have like just so many memories, and they're always saying how much they love it, and what they can't imagine where they would be without it. It's on the water. They have so much fun, and they need that. You need a place to just decompress and get away from, the stresses of your everyday life. So, and we keep in touch. That was one of my first real clients way back, like starting in the more luxury division. So that was back in 2009, long time ago. But they just, it's, you don't get to see them as much, but it just, it was just a great, they're always very special in my heart, and met a lot of great people through them. Let's put it that way.
Enlightened investors, if you haven't done so already, be sure and click that like button, and also click that share so others can take advantage of the content. And finally, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming episodes. And so was it this experience that actually changed your mind? You said you were thinking about leaving the industry.
I don't even think they know that to this day. It was a tough negotiation on this house too. We negotiated this house for 3 months, I think, the house that they're in. It was a really challenging one in so many ways. But what I learned from it was I trusted my gut. Negotiation is something I'm very strong at. And sometimes, you're always you're working in the best interest of the client. Always. That's always my best interest is on the client, but I'll know what to do and not to do, and wait. And it was a 3-month negotiation. They ended up with the house, obviously, but that was the longest negotiation I've experienced as well. Yeah. So, but so worth it. Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, without having built that relationship with that couple, I don't see how you could have sustained a 3-month negotiation period. I think it had to rest upon the relationship that you all had developed. Well, Tia, you have some wonderful things going on there. So just tell us about your brokerage. What's the name of it, and how can people get in touch with you to take advantage of the marvelous services that you have to offer?
Well, the brokerage is Property Cape Cod Real Estate. Thank you for asking. And we are, for those of you who may not be familiar with the Cape, it's very much a resort destination here. We're like on our own island. We're like the mainland. We're a peninsula. So you cross over a bridge to get here. It's just beautiful. It's just a gorgeous place. Very much water, for those water enthusiasts. It's a great place to be. And, to learn more, I would say go to propertycapecod.com. We do have like Living on Water's Edge. We have a lot. Go to the podcast menu too. We do have a lot of offers there. You're welcome to call me. All the information's there. If you want questions, I can help in any way. But we are, and that's, it doesn't matter, even if you're just thinking about it, or even for another area, we're always happy to help. If there's anything I can offer, pick the brain, because that's where it's all at. It's just kind of getting to the best place that makes the most sense for each person, and we're all different as individuals. So we treat everybody different, in terms of like, because we're all individual. It's not one size fits all, is what I'm trying to say. So, but our brokerages it's really based on people, and we put a lot of effort into when we're listing a home, very different on that end too. Take a lot of pride in what we do, I guess, and pride for our clients and pride for the house and presentation and details. I think comes down to the smallest of details that make a big difference. I could go on forever. I don't think you want me to, Dr. Allen. I think. Yeah.
Well, Tia, we've come to the end of our show. So let's go into our last 3 questions here. And that is, share one of your most difficult setbacks in life, and how did you come through that? And what was the major lesson you learned from that?
One of the most difficult setbacks in my life. One of the most difficult setbacks in my life was having belief in myself. And I came through that through doing a lot of we talked about that self work, if you will. And I meditate every day. I work on it every day, very into fitness and so forth to keep that top of mind and to constantly work on that. But it is, that's one thing I have turned around, because I think that makes a difference, to believe in yourself. It doesn't really matter what everyone else thinks if you have that confidence and belief in yourself. So that was the hardest thing for me to turn around.
Yeah. Well, how are you putting your success as an entrepreneur to work to create universal well-being?
So great question. We are starting part of we're working hard and dedicated to enriching and with one connection at a time in each person's life. So that may take a community or whatever, but it's what the company's really stands for, and we're working towards that on a day-to-day basis to make a difference. And I think that will shape form as we continue to grow. But right now, it's just in anyone's lives we touch, my team, my clients, they become friends, anybody, in our path, our community at large. Yeah. So, and that leads to the last question, I think, but go ahead.
Yeah. So
I don't.
So imagine you have come to the end of your life and you lay on your deathbed. What do you look back on with your greatest joy and sense of fulfillment?
Well, I'm not ready to be there yet, because I really look back, I asked that question a lot to myself, and my goal when I am on that, and hopefully I have some time, is to look back and say, wow, I feel like I did somehow make a difference in this life for others, and have an impact there. And I think that's something that's still in the developing phases for me, and I haven't reached that yet. So I can't fully answer that
Well,
yet.
you've reached some depths and insights that many people never do. So I applaud you for that. So,
Thank you, Dr.
enlightened
Allen.
investors, thank you so much for joining us again today. And it's been delightful sharing this time with you, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And I do hope you will like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next episode. Enlightened investors, wait, don't go just yet. I just want to remind you about our recently launched webinar that you will not want to miss. If you're at all curious and would like to learn more about how real estate investing can diversify your investment portfolio, alleviate the anxiety associated with Wall Street swings, leverage your 401ks and IRAs to substantially increase the return on your investment, and do all of this with turnkey, hands-off, passive real estate investments, then you'll want to immediately go to stevetalker.com/webinar. In the webinar, we'll also address the common dubious investment schemes that you want to avoid. To access the webinar, go to stevetalker.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you in the webinar.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.